Hello Year 5 and welcome to this afternoon's art lesson. We're going to look at the art of the Maya today. That's our aim. So before we go further, what will we need? For today's lesson you're going to need a piece of plain paper or a sketchbook, ideally kind of sketchbook paper, but whatever you've got is fine. An HB pencil, some colouring pencils and a positive mindset, because very often in art, it's easy to get a little bit down on ourselves quite quickly and say, oh, this hasn't turned out the way I want it to, this is rubbish, I don't like it, I'm rubbish at art. But that's not the way we're going to view it today. We're going to keep that mindset really positive, that everything we do, every mark we make on that paper is a step in the right direction, and that any bits that we think are failures are just first attempts, and actually we can find ways to create the look that we're going for if we keep positive. Okay, so if you need to pause the video and go and get some paper or pencils or anything now, it's a good chance to do that. Right, before we go any further, I'm going to set myself a little bit of a challenge today in today's lesson. I'm going to try and get this grammar right, this word right. Now, is it Maya or is it Mayan? Well, in most cases, it should be Maya. We're learning about the Maya. When we talk about the people, the art, the buildings, we're talking about the work of the Maya. When we say Mayan, we should really only use that to refer to the language, to the dialect that they spoke and the written language that they recorded. So more often than not, we're going to want to use Maya rather than Mayan. I'm going to try and do that, but it's very easy to slip into Mayan because most nationalities and ancient civilizations end with an Egyptians, Romans. But we'll see how we go. I'm going to try and get it right. Listen out and see if you can catch me out for any. So we're now going to try and gather some inspiration for our Maya art today. To do that, we're going to take ourselves on a bit of a Maya museum tour. We're going to picture ourselves walking through a museum as we see lots of artifacts, pieces from the Maya civilization. As we come through them, as we see all these things coming in front of us, I want us to look out for some patterns. Now, when I say patterns, I mean things that are repeated. I mean things that we see a number of times. So are there any colours that keep coming up? Are there any designs that we're seeing a number of times? Are there certain styles? Are we seeing pictures of the same sort of thing? Try and make some notes about those in your mind as we're walking through the museum, and I'll see you at the other side. Okay, so we're back from our little trip to the museum. Saw lots of different artefacts there, lots of different examples of Maya art, and I think we gathered some ideas for the styles we want to recreate today, perhaps some of the particular design motifs we might see, and also some of the colour palettes that we used, and we're going to bring these into play when we could design our own work later. So we saw some of the Maya stelae there, these monuments that show stories or represent people or gods, and we see within them the carvings into this large stone tablets, pillars and walls, that a lot of Maya art was part of the framework of the buildings, so part of the buildings was in itself artistic. Within them we see lots of repeated design patterns, so we know that the Maya used the same motif repeatedly. Some of these were hieroglyphs, so they were pictures that related to specific words or sounds. Some of them were pictures of their gods. Now we can see that they used multiple line patterns. So if we look in the top right corner of the screen there, you'll see that some of the designs, they use a sort of striped pattern where the stripes follow around the design, whatever the picture is of. Today, we're going to try and bring some of these designs into Maya masks. Now, the Maya used masks for a wide variety of things, really. They were really important part of their society. Indeed, what the masks were made of and the design of them also gave some indication as to the importance of the wearer. The most sacred Mayan masks being made out of jade, and jade, that sort of greeny blue coloured precious stone, we saw that colour quite a lot in the artwork earlier, didn't we? Other things that were made out of stone, wood, perhaps gold, shell, or obsidian, the black glass that we mentioned in one of our earlier lessons. They were used for different reasons, different occasions. They were used sometimes to adorn or decorate the faces of the dead, particular events, weddings, things like that. They were also used for battle. Some masks were simpler in design, but they were more worn by the Maya during battles or during particular conflicts. These focused mainly on darker colours. They sometimes had animal designs. In fact, you'll see the bottom one there has the serpent, the one at the top, elements of the jaguar. They were in some ways to protect the wearer during the battle by adding the spiritual power and the idea of having the characteristics of the animal with which the mask was associated. But they were also there in an intimidatory fashion to frighten the enemy, to scare the enemy that the wearer was coming up against. They were worn for particular events. They were designed for certain ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, birth ceremonies, funereal ceremonies. These masks often used the heavenly beings, the theological structure, the gods from Maya civilization within their designs. These are the ones that had the brighter, more vibrant colours. So we had the darker, more muted tones in the battle masks, the brighter colours came on the event mask. So when you're designing yours later, think about what your purpose is, and we'll talk about that. Finally, death masks were used to adorn the faces of the dead, and these were seen as the most sacred and were therefore the most elaborate. They used the mosaic patterning of the greens and blues, and we saw lots of greens and blues in those examples earlier, to show the close sacred connection between the people and their gods. It was believed that these masks were protective. They were spiritually protective. They protected the individual whilst they were descending into that underground world of Xibalba that we learned about in previous lessons. So, we are going to use colour in our masks today, because colour is really important in Mayan artwork. And we saw, didn't we, that in those designs that we saw earlier, there were repeated colours that the Maya used. We're going to aim to create our own Maya mask, and I'd like you to think about giving yours a purpose. So reflecting on what you just learned, is yours going to be a death mask, perhaps a wedding mask? Perhaps yours is going to be a battle mask, modelled on a certain animal to create fear in the enemy. I'm just cycling through some pictures here, and you're going to be, of course, able to use these to inspire your own work later on. You can always rewind back in the video if you want to pause it on a certain mask that really caught your eye. As I've already said, animals were often used in their design, particularly jaguars and particularly birds. So, over to you now. We're going to have a look at designing a Maya mask or two. It's up to you to see how you go. You can design the mask in your sketchbook or on paper. Think of what the purpose is, what was the occasion, and therefore what colours will you use. Think about being inspired by the Maya design. I don't just want you to just design a mask. I want to replicate that Maya design in your work. Okay, I'm now going to show you some of my design under the camera. Okay, so I'm getting myself set up here. I've got some plain paper, and I've got a pencil to draw with, and then I've just chosen some colours, and I've set myself a kind of a bit of a limit here. I'm not going to have an endless array of colours, because I look at those Maya pieces of art that I saw earlier. I didn't see a full rainbow of colour. I didn't see everything I could possibly think of. I saw a lot of orange and yellows, and then I saw some of that jade green, and then some other greens as well. So I've kind of kept it within that colour palette with a little bit of red and a bit of brown, because I think I'm going to need them for some of the particular designs I want to do. I'm avoiding colouring pens personally. I don't want to use any of them. I'm going to stick entirely in pencil, but I've got a black pen that I am going to use to pick out some of the outlines a little bit later on. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the outline of my mask. Now, I want an oval shape, a face shape on my page. I'm going to want to use the whole page, and to help me, what I might do is just mark out early on where some of this outline might go. So, I'm just seeing the shape with a few lines here. We'll start around there, and bring it down and aim to finish the chin on that point there. So you can see that I've just started with 3 points to give me an idea when I start drawing how I want to fill that space. So let's connect those top two up with those line across the top. We'll come down to the bottom here slowly. Perhaps I'll put in another point, another marker, and the sort of width I want my mask to be. Looking down at it, yeah, about that. That's about right. So then I'll start to bring that down there. Didn't quite hit that marker, but it doesn't matter. Down to get that face shape. Now then, I'm not going to draw around anything. I don't want a perfect shape here. I want something that looks like it was handmade hundreds of years ago. So drawing a perfect circle will not be what I want. And you notice I'm going back over it just to get it to the kind of shape I want to get it. Now, I'm just making some early decisions here. I need eyes. So looking at my whole face, the eyes are usually in the middle of the face. So I'm going to come in on this line here. That's basically where my eyes are going to go. So I want nice, simple eye shapes, because these are going to be cutouts in my final mask, they're going to be empty space. Helping using my tools just to measure up. Look, I'm about a finger's width away from the edge of that eye. So finger's width away from the edge of that eye, that's going to be the kind of place I'm going to take it in. And maybe about 2 fingers width, 2 fingers width. About there, that'll be about right. So I'm making those small marks rather than trying to draw in one go, just chopping and changing as I go. Okay, that's a good start. Right, now, I'm not going to put in nose and mouth just yet because that's going to be part of my design, so I'm going to wait for that. I'm going to aim to do, right, I thought about the animals I saw earlier. I'd like to do a serpent, a snake, because I know that was important in Maya culture, that becomes a jaguar. So a serpent top and a jaguar mouth with the big teeth of a jaguar. Okay, now I'm going to do it as a horned serpent, like a horned viper. So I'm going to put some little horns on my mask here. Add those on as additions. I'm going to use scales to fill this part here, but across the top here I'm going to go for a Mayan design. Now in the video, at the trip to the museum, I saw this shape and I thought, oh, that looks like a really interesting shape that I can recreate. Curl around like that, and then it was made up of line within a line within a line. So my pencil, I'll probably go over this in pen later. I'm going to draw those. Now this may be something that you decide to replicate. It doesn't have to be. You might go a completely different direction, which is fine. So I had that shape. And I might put something in here. Oh, I've got an idea. I know what I wanted to put in here. I'm going to put a sun shape in here. Now I saw a lot of the Mayan suns sort of styled in this way. Very imperfect, so I'm not looking for it to be exactly the same all the way around. Even if I just wanted this one isn't quite dead centre, that's fine. There's my sun shape. I'm going to leave that there like that. So here then I might start this scale design. So I'm just going to do these U's to look like scales. Pretty quickly through these. Bring it down to about there personally. Now I've been thinking about my colour choices for these scales, and I think I'm going to use a blend of 3 different greens in my scales. I'm definitely going to have that jade colour that I saw in a lot of the Mayan jewellery and the Maya sculptures. Then I'll have some more snake-like green as well. Let's have a look. How's that looking? Yeah, pretty good. So let's just keep that one carrying on around there. Let that finish up like that. I haven't put in a nose, but I might put that in as part of the jaguar's mouth down here. In fact, let's start mapping out that mouth. I'll probably put that in around here. Here's the top of the mouth. Now I think I'm going to go for jaguar teeth and down out of the mask like that. And then a bottom row as well. Now I'm probably going to end up going over this in pen a bit later, so I'm just doing that quite roughly now. I can finish up with pen later. Now jaguars got those spots, haven't they? As well as, yeah, if I build in a sort of jaguar's nose here. And then around it creates those jaguar spots. Different shapes. They're certainly not all perfect circles at all. I'm doing kind of kidney shapes and teardrop shapes. Some of them are quite C-shaped, aren't they? So in random places, putting in those jaguar spots that I can then pick out in the colour. I don't want to add too much. I think that might be where I leave it. And now I'm going to add the colour. I'll speed this part up if you want to watch me take this through to its finished point as I add some of the colour in for it. But I think it's, once you've watched that, it's a good place for you to get started and have a go at designing your own Maya mask.